49 years. It'll be 49 years in June.
I think it's 5 years.
5 years,
Okay.
5 years.
right.
She was in college and she got married. We got married in her junior year in
The
college.
end of my junior year.
Yeah.
Met at the drive-in theater in Slovan. I was working in the concession stand. And Rich had come with some of his friends because one of his friends liked one of the girls that I was working with. So we kind of met.
And the truth is, she gave
He
me free
says-
French fries.
That's
so-
what he says.
I
I don't
said she-
remember that.
No, that is true.
For me, it was having the children.
I think it was for me, I mean, children, your own, they're so special, but first grandchild is really, I don't know, if you're too young to experience your own children, but once you get a little older and it's really special.
I think for us, Rich was laid off a lot. Fortunately, I had a job and I was, able to work and support, when he had times off. And then at one point, I was on strike and he was laid off and there was like no money, coming in. But, we've always had a strong faith. We just asked God to help us through these times. It wasn't easy. I mean, we had to alter our lifestyle for a while and do things differently, but we got through and we survived it.
Would you say that was a time when you grew in your faith?
I think so, because at one point in that time when he was off and I was on strike, he had interviews with US Air, and he came home and he said, they're sending me for a physical. He said, so it seemed like that was going to be it. And then 2 days later he got that he didn't get the job. He got a letter and it was like, we were sad, but we kept praying about it. And then he was selling tombstones on the side to support our income. And he had one and he had to go to Pittsburgh, near Pittsburgh. I
Peters
think.
Township.
Peters Township. And the man there said, do you like doing it? And he said, no, but I lost my job. And he said, I have an inn at Washington Steel. He said, let me put in a good word for you. So he did, and he had 3 interviews or whatever. And 5. And he got the job, which is much better because at US Air he would have been laid off again in, no time. So it worked out
Sorry?
perfectly.
Okay.
So it was a time of we, questioned God, why did this not happen? And then always hindsight, you see, and you just have to keep trusting that it's going to get better.
And that time of our life too was when Chris and Juan was getting ready to go to college, so we needed more money. And luckily, the job did come through. There's a lot of give and take, and sometimes you get angry, but you gotta make up and go on.
Right. And you need to have a good prayer life. You really do. You need to ask God to be in the center of your marriage and just pray that, and he'll take care of things. Might not be in your time, but he will. It was when our kids were little and, we always went to church. And we were at Slovan Church, and one of our ministers was having a children's sermon and said to the kids, oh, what exciting happened at your house this week? Well, Monica was never short on telling what exciting happened. So she said, well, my mother had a meeting at school, and my dad was trying to fix dinner, and he caught the pot on fire, and he threw it out the door, and he caught the grass on fire. And when my mother came home, she was mad at him because he burned her good pot. Oh, keep praying for sure. Well, we run a lot with the grandchildren, so I think that keeps us moving, and I think that's part of the thing too. You have to keep active and busy.
we can't afford to get old because we have too much, I think, responsibility for the family and the church. So we got to keep hammering away.
It'll be 52 years in June.
She doesn't remember
I
how
did.
Rob asked.
I
You did
did.
ask her, right?
Yes, yes, yes. You gave it to me for Christmas, right? Yeah. You can edit that part.
Yours.
He gave it to me on Christmas Eve. He asked me on Christmas Eve and gave me the ring. Actually, I was more worried about the fact that we were going to be moving. He was in the military, and we went on a honeymoon for a week, and then we came and left immediately because we were going to Kentucky, where he was going to Officer Basic. So I don't know in those days whether, I mean, you made the covenant, you said, yes, I'll be married to him forever, but I don't know that that was uppermost in my mind. What about you?
No, I agree. It wasn't.
Yeah, I think we were more enveloped in the wedding and the going away and going to Kentucky and all that stuff. I don't think it really sinks in that it's for a lifetime until you're together for a while, at least for us.
Okay.
Yeah. And my mom and dad and his mom and dad were together. So that's just what people did. They got married.
Okay.
I only knew one person when I was growing up who ever got a divorce, and that was an aunt. So you just got married and you stayed together.
Actually, for me, being in the military, it was there. Was really not much. But for you.
Yeah, I think it was a blessing in a way because we had to rely on each other. But he was gone a lot, so I also had to rely on me, and I had never really done that. I grew up as an only child and all that, but I had to learn to make decisions and do things because he wasn't around. I think there were 2 times. One was both times that he went to Vietnam because he was gone for a year. And one was right after we were married in June, and he left in January for Vietnam. And then the second time was our daughter was 2 years old, and he left again and went to Vietnam and was gone for a year. That was I'm lumping that into one. And then the second time was when he had his stroke. So I think those were the hardest things that we encountered.
How did you get through them?
The first time I was sort of young and naive, and I came home, and so our families helped us, both of us. I went over to his mom's a lot on the weekends, and our families helped us. The second time, we were older, and that's when I think that's when my faith got really, really strong, because I felt that God was with me, and I don't know that I would have gotten through that without it. So.
How about you, Rob?
Yeah, the first time, it was just everything was military. Everything was sort of planned, if you will, and so that's the way I dealt with it.
Yeah.
And then when I had my stroke, I just remember everything. I remember getting up, going to the bathroom,
Falling down.
falling down, her getting me in the car. I can remember in the hospital them taking me and giving me shots, and it was.
That was very scary.
It was a scary time.
That's when I think both of us started really getting involved in the church and also getting involved with God and finding Jesus. I think that was, if you said, did I believe? Yes. Did I go to church? Yes. Was I raised in a church? Yes. But I don't know that I had that relationship until then.
And I, immediately following the stroke, I was really, I was mad at God, at everybody else, and but really that only lasted probably at most a month. Then I just made up my mind. If I'm going to get from here to there, I've got to settle down, and I commenced to
Go through all the physical therapy and
Yeah.
do what he was supposed to do.
Okay.
Yeah. I think our kids. Wouldn't you say your kids?
you.
Oh, well, that's nice.
And the children.
Yeah, and especially grandchildren now. There are times I wish we'd have skipped some of the children things and gone directly to grandchildren. So, I think if you put God first, and the whole, if you can talk to Jesus and you can talk to God, I think it helps your marriage. There's sometimes that I would get angry with him, and I used to go out and I said I became a gardener so I could beat the dirt instead of rob or the kids. But I think that later in life, when I found out I could also talk to God, it helped a lot. I should have had that earlier in my marriage, because I think it would have helped with the transitions, with all the moves we had and all the upheaval of moving and finding new friends and all that. I think I always had God there. I just didn't realize it. So we've had a very good life. We've said that before. If my life ended today, I've had an excellent life. So.
Yeah. And that's true.
And we've also talked that, if you went out and got a divorce, you'd have to go through going out and finding someone and getting dressed all the time. And this way we can sit around in our pajamas and watch TV. It's much nicer. So, I think you also have to have a sense of humor in a relationship. I think that helps a lot. I think that's what God has with us. I think with each other, it's accepting who we are and who they are. We gain weight, we lose weight, our hair gets white, our hair gets many colors. And you just accept that as part of marriage. You have your highs, you have a lot of, like you tell us all the time, you have a lot of highs, you do have lows. And, when you can get through those lows together, then the highs are even higher.
Yeah.
So. Well, when we lived in Germany, we took a German class so that we could communicate when we were out on what they called the economy, when you were off base. And every week our German teacher used to wait to see what the La Posta experiences were for the week. But one time we decided that we would go to the next town up. We were in Heidelberg, Germany, and the next town would have been Frankfurt. And we would take the train. We decided we would trying the train. So we bought tickets, and we got on. We bought tickets for the economy train, but we got on the super train. And we had to pay extra to be on the super train just to go to Heidelberg. And it took all of our money. I mean, all the money we had enough to buy each of our kids a Coke when we got to Frankfurt, and we had to turn around and come back on the train because we didn't have money to do anything once we got up there. We asked for 4, we used the word bottles of Coke, and over there they had a lot of the liter Cokes instead of 4 glasses of Coke, so they brought us 4 big bottles, and he kept saying, just be quiet and take the bottles. So we did, and we took them to the car, and the kids kept saying, we get this whole big bottle.
58 years?
It'll be 58 and, no. How many?
58?
59 in July.
In June.
June 26th.
How did we start out? Fellowship at the church.
Okay.
I was a
And-
senior in high school, she was the freshman when I met her.
And how long did you date before you got engaged?
Almost 4 years. With a very short engagement, like a month.
From my birthday to June 26th. Well, we sitting in the car outside her work on a
Lunchtime.
lunch break. And I asked her if she wanted to get married.
Ring and all. My mother said, Albert, look what she has.
My mother was with us.
Yes, mother was so
She was in the back
romantic.
seat, me and I was in the front seat.
Wait, she was in the back, your mother was in the back seat of the car when you asked B to marry you? Oh my
We used to go
goodness.
to the jewelry store with the ring. Why is that funny?
It is, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Sure, it's funny. At that time, too, married women couldn't work in the office at Weirton Steel. So I finished the month of July. I had to quit.
When our daughter was born. And I got laid off in the mill
Yeah.
in '82. I was off 9 months and then back.
How'd you get through that time?
Pretty good. We survived.
By the grace of God. I was so afraid that we were going to have to move. Because he wasn't a real young man at the time, and I didn't know if he was going to be able to get back to the mill. So I got to the point where I could say, okay, God, I can move. Because, that's what I was expecting.
To where we didn't know.
Yeah.
No idea.
And I really,
I mean,
our
I
family
got
was here.
right out of high school, went in the mill, so I didn't have any other training.
My family was all from, Waynesburg and up in that way. Both my parents from Greene County. And I'd never been anywhere else. And that was what I figured was going to happen. And I wasn't ready for it. So God said, okay.
So would you say that was a turning point in your faith journey?
Probably.
You relied more on God during that?
Yeah.
We used a lot then. Yes.
Yeah.
I'd walk away most of the time. Didn't like to argue. If I did get mad, I got upset and didn't like that. Didn't like myself that way.
But I think love and trust and respect.
That's what got you through?
I really do. I don't think I really thought about it that much. I just kind of figured that our life would be just like my mother and dad's. I think I've always expected my life to be just like that. And for the most part, it has been.
Do what you'd have to stay together, because it's worth it.
How about you, B? What would
Life
you say?
changes as you go, but make the best of it.
Faith. Enjoy your kids. The funniest thing that I remember, we were in fellowship, and we, as a group, often went to Hookstown to roller skate. And of course, Bob wasn't driving, so we went with a girl named Patty Watts, and she drove. Well, it had rained
Snowed.
Was it snow? Anyhow, and the parking lot wasn't, with dirt. And she got stuck.
No, she didn't get stuck.
Well, she wanted to know how to move the car anyhow.
Well, and it was just a path away from the Rose King Ring, one of them, and I think that's where she wanted to go. I says, go a little fast, don't slow down. We drove right through it, the mud.
But he wasn't driving cars at that time, but he knew what to tell her to get out of the rut she was in, not going anywhere.
It must have been when I was 18 years old.
Okay.
Well,
That's the funniest thing I can remember. But I think unconditional was when you trust the other person. Because they don't always want what you want or want to do things your way. But you trust and work it out.
Work together.
God, whatever time He gives us.
As long as we stay alive.
No, that's the thing. God, whatever time He gives us.
In September, last September.
Wow. So we're coming into 72 years.
So.
And he'll be 93 in July, and
So,
I just turned 90.
I was 16, she was 13.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the first time we met.
Okay.
And then as soon as he was 17, he quit high school between his junior and senior year, and he went into the service. And I never saw him again until I was a senior in high school. And he came home on leave. We had been riding all that time. I really liked him from the beginning. Because he was, well, anyway. And when he came home, he said, "Do you love me enough to marry me?" And I said, "Yes." So we saw each other, basically, physically saw each other 3 times before we were married.
But there was a common interest between the two of us. When we first met, 13, 16, we started talking airplanes. She belonged to an airplane club at the high school, and I had built airplanes all my life, and I wasn't in the Navy at that time. But I wound up as a flight crewman in the Navy during the war, in 42 when I went in. And I didn't serve any time aboard ship. All I did was fly.
Well, we had, I can't remember whose car we were in. We'd gone out to the Old Oak to dance.
Yeah.
Where the Legion used to be the Old Oak, and it had a dance floor, and that's where we all went after the, but we went there, and then we came back, and he pulled into the driveway and put his arm around me, and he said, "Do you love me enough to marry me?" And I said, "Yes."
Nice.
Because I had a job, so it was, no problem.
And that was September of 45.
Yeah.
I think the thing that I'm so proud of him about, he didn't like school at all, but he knew he needed a diploma. So in September of 48, he went back to Weir High School. He went to school 3 hours every morning, worked steady afternoon turn
In the mill.
and even drove taxi cab on the weekends. But he graduated in
Took
1940.
me 11 years to get through high school, but by Jove, I made it. Started in
So he has a
1938,
diploma.
graduated in 49.
Graduated 3 years after me. But I think that shows what he's made of.
Mm-hmm.
I think marriage is, the main thing is to show respect for each other and try to cooperate. And with her, she does magnificent things. Just being alive, she does things, and I let her know it because I respect her. And she has always cooperated with me with what I wanted to do. So, but respect and cooperation, I think, is a secret. And there's an awful lot of guys that got married and they think, well, the wife's got to do everything, you know, I got the job and she doesn't. They get up before anybody else, they take care of the kids, they take care of the food, and they're the last ones to go to bed at night. And I respect that. So that's the way I was raised. Sorry about that.
I think that's really the best thing, that we both had. We came from good, solid families who had good marriages, and we had good examples.
Yeah.
Then he worked hard enough, and we had our own airplane, and I served a lot of meals on that airplane to Valerie, or to Patty, really. Patty traveled with us.
Everything I did beside working at Weird and Steel was what we did for fun. I had a couple of jobs. I always had jobs besides Weird and Steel, and if I wanted some, I could buy it because I wasn't taken away from the salary. And that's the big thing. That came to the house.
He had his own business,
Right.
Evans Communications.
And I
And that's
had,
what-
I had a chance to buy this airplane and fly it, and she liked to fly. So I flew all over the United States and Canada and everything. And I had it many, many years, and I sold it, so after a heart attack. But we enjoyed doing things together. So I bought her a BMW used motorcycle, and she learned to ride out there in the yard. Now I decided I better have one too, so I bought one the next year. And we rode to Oklahoma, we rode to New England, we rode all over. The girls were in school or working, they never knew where we were.
Valerie said, "You see this gray hair?" When Valerie holds her gray hair, she said, "It's not for my children, it's for my parents." But we had fun together.
Yeah, we had
Yeah.
had a lot of fun together.
We still have fun together
Yeah.
when we can stay awake. We never argued. I don't mean we haven't had arguments, but when we always talked things out, and that's what you have to do. You have to talk things out. What are we going to do? We used to joke around and saying, well, he'd get a job as a radio operator on a ship, and I'd be the cook, and we'd go around the world because that's what we'd planned to travel with the Navy. Well, when we had a child, we had responsibility. We just did as we had seen our parents do. And you know, when you have love, it works out.
And when you're wrong, say, I'm wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. Make sure you respect each other. I still say hang on to that word. Respect her for the effort she puts in it. She respects him for the effort he puts in it. And between the two of them, they can create a family. That's the only way it'll work. The only way. The thing that's got me...
Think things out. You have to think ahead a little bit if you're going to make any kind of plans. And you have to come up with the same plan. Our family.
All the time.
You know, it just...
I can't pick out anything in particular because the way we operate, it's fun being married to her. It really is.
Well, it was, we've enjoyed the girls so much. And we've been asked why 16 years between them. And I said, well, we just didn't want to have to put two girls in college at the same time. You know, but that's a lie. We never even thought about college then. But it was, they've both been a joy. We thank God every morning. There's not a day in our lives that I don't thank God that circumstances were such that brought us together, and that we have had the good life that we've had.
Yeah.
We've had some close shaves.
Yeah. But
He's had a heart attack.
it's, I don't, as I say the other day, or some time ago, I don't pray anymore. I have a conversation. And I feel close. And I have no regrets of saying thank you at the end of the day. Because I got another day to look forward to. I don't know what it is and why it is, but I'm very comfortable with it.
And I don't know how people can survive without a faith, without knowing that God is with us, always. There's nothing, I've loved being in the woods, I've loved fishing in this stream, I've done things, but my dad used to say there's nothing in the world that is so bad that being with God in the woods or being with God on the creek can't help you solve. Because it's all from God. And that's the kind of thing that I grew up with.
But what more could I ask for than a good family, a nice home, good memories, lots of good friends, and I don't have to worry about getting in trouble. It's just simple.